Hello students, we've made it to week 4, and this week we're going to be looking at the hereditary molecule itself. We're going to take a look a little bit more closely at DNA. So it's been a few weeks since I've given you a sort of a video update or video overview of what we've got coming up in class. So I just wanted to do that to kind of check in with you all and just mention a few other things that I've noticed so far in these first few weeks of class. So the first thing I want to say is I'm really impressed with everyone, again, doing a great job turning in assignments. I see a lot of you are taking advantage of those adaptive practice modules that I've given you, so well done on those. And then also the other thing I wanted to comment on was the blog posts. I've really enjoyed actually looking at and reading some of your blogs. So just as a reminder to see the other students' blogs in our class, if you go to your dashboard when you log in and you click on this button here that says Reader, you have to scroll down, and then everyone who posts who's in our class, this is where you will see those posts. So I've learned all kinds of things about you all as students. I hope you're also learning from each other, things about your heritage, things about traits that you find interesting in your family, traits that are maybe concerning, maybe history of different types of medical conditions or potentially diseases that you might have to watch out for. And so this has been really, really enjoyable. And again, I hope you both enjoy posting and reflecting on these questions yourself, but then also learning what other people in the class have to contribute. So I also like it when people post pictures. So thanks for the pictures, everyone. That's always an added bonus as well, getting to see some of your faces or your family or siblings or children or that as well. So one thing I wanted to say is a really great job with the blogging assignments so far, between your familiarity with the topic and your introductions, and then this week talking about your family. I think we're off to a really good start with these assignments. So thank you all for that. Going back to the class, this particular week, we have, again, looking more specifically at the structure of DNA. We've talked a lot about, how genetic material gets copied and moved into cells during the process of mitosis and meiosis. Now we're going to actually go into the mechanism behind making copies of DNA, right? So we've talked about the cell cycle, and the synthesis part of the interphase is where we actually made copies of DNA. How does that work? We're going to learn about it in this week. So your lecture material is per as usual. We have our readings and then lecture and my notes. And then also, again, the adaptive practice modules for those of you who are interested. And then for this week's assignments, we have our blogging assignment, which I think is kind of an interesting one. This one I'd like to focus a little bit more. You're going to learn in lecture today about how some of the folks who were responsible for understanding what DNA is and what the molecule actually looks like, so we could understand how it replicates, were people who were sort of in these marginalized groups. And so their contributions weren't really recognized until more recently. And so for the blog this week, I wanted you just to, try to find some of these other folks in science. And it would be great if it was specifically people who had a contribution to genetics or hereditary or heredity, but it can really be anything related to biology, cells, evolution, anything that we're going to be talking about this semester. Try to find a scientist who's kind of been marginalized because of their identity in some way, and highlight them, right? Tell us about them. So find someone, be like, hey, here's a person you should know. They contributed greatly to our knowledge of whatever it happens to be, but they weren't recognized. So it's always really nice to sort of bring those people to the forefront so that they can get the recognition that their hard work deserves. So that's our blog assignment for this week. For the activity this week, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to have you do a virtual lab. This is from the Genetics Learning Center at the University of Utah, which they have a fantastic website, by the way, with a lot of really great resources. And I believe I have them posted under additional information, additional resources. But if I don't, I will post that. But this one is kind of interesting. It's kind of a fun activity. You're going to go ahead and do this. Again, this is like a virtual lab, and you just sort of click through it and it'll tell you what to do. There's some kind of silly sound effects that it makes as you go through. I will warn you of that. But then as you're going through, have these questions ready and by your side so that you can write the answers down to them. And then you can just sort of, again, respond to these question prompts for the activity this week. So it's a little bit different. And then as always, we'll do our weekly check-in. And so what I've been trying to do with the check-ins and the questions from the check-ins, again, I've been trying to kind of synthesize those questions and post them in the weekly emails that I send you all. So in the midweek email from last week, I summarized those questions that I had received right the week before. So I'm always kind of 1 week behind a little bit, right, with those questions. I did check on Sunday before I sent out the summary and reminder email yesterday. I did check to see if there were any particular questions, and not a whole lot had come up yet. So I'll wait and see if I can pull those questions together. But I do want you to know that I am trying to actively answer any of those Socratic questions that you ask, right? So I am trying to work out a way to get that information back to you, so that we're kind of closing that loop, if you will. The other thing I just want to do briefly before we end the video is just kind of make a note that we have 2 more topics before our first exam. So we're going to be talking about DNA this week. We're going to be talking about protein synthesis next week. And then we're going to have our first lecture exam. So the exams are online. They're a combination of multiple choice, true, false, and short answer questions. I will be providing a study guide to you. Usually I provide that 1 week in advance. So on next week in the week 5 module folder, you will find a folder that says study materials. And I will have, again, a study guide that's in there that you can go ahead and work on in order to prepare yourself. I also let you use your study guide during your exam. I do use a system called HonorLock. You will need a webcam in order to take the exam, so please make sure that you have that. And there'll be information in the exam folder that's all about that. But you'll need HonorLock. It's an extension you use Google Chrome for. You need a webcam. Please make sure that you have one. If you don't, you will have to come to campus to take your exam. We have a testing center here on campus, and the testing center is set up to accommodate these types of exams as well. So if you don't have the equipment yourself, you can come to campus to take that exam. And then, and I allow you to use your study guide, but nothing else. Okay, so you can't use a phone, you can't use a textbook, you can't use any other resources. And again, the study guide itself is all right, but that's all you're allowed to have on the exam. So all of this is also mentioned in next week folder. I was just kind of previewing it, right? So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I think it's better to be prepared. So that's really all I had for this particular week. As always, if you all have questions, please don't forget that I do have online office hours specifically on Tuesdays from 10:30 to 12:30. But I also am happy to meet, if you happen to be on campus, you can stop by during my campus office hours, which is all over here. You can stop by during my campus office hours, or if you'd like to arrange a time during those office hours, even if I'm on campus, you'd like to arrange to meet with me virtually, we can do that as well. So I would just need you to send me an email, asking for a specific day and time that you'd like to meet, and then I will send you the link to use to get on for those office hours. But again, happy to respond to anyone who specifically has questions and wants to ask me in person. So that's it for week 4. Good luck this week, everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.